So today we're going to be talking about electroculture. I tried to start this video podcast earlier, but something crazy happened, so we are back. So what is electroculture? It has to do with farming and using electricity to help with that, right? We're going to read straight from Wikipedia 100. So electroculture refers to various practices aimed at stimulating the growth of plants by subjecting them to electric or electromagnetic fields or directly to electric currents. The research carried out in this field experienced a craze at the turn of the 19th century and the 20th century before disappearing with the progress of electrosciology. On the one hand, in agrochemistry, photosanitary products and fertilizers. On the other hand, in the 21st century, these experiments are again brought to light with the revival of organic farming in the hope of obtaining more or less empirically more vigorous plants without chemicals. Many scientists consider this practice to be pseudoscience, fake science. Pseudoscience is a discipline that is presented under scientific appearances or falsely attributed to science, but which does not have the approach nor the recognition it stands in opposition to science. Weird. Well, the history of this, right? In the middle of the 18th century, observations suggested the influence of storms on the growth of plants and led to the idea of carrying out experiments with electricity to stimulate vegetation. Thus, the positive results obtained in Edinburgh by Dr. Mayembre on myrtle branches were presented in 1746 to the Royal Society of London. Although the process of electrification is not specified, it closely follows the development of electrostatic machines. This idea was quickly taken up in France, Switzerland, and Germany. In France, in 1749, Abbe Nollet carried out research on the effects of electricity generated by these electrostatic machines and noted its positive effects on plants. In 1783, Abbe Pierre Berthelon de Saint Lazare, nailed it. No, okay. Who was more interested in electricity of the atmosphere, such as lighting, abandoned electrostatic generators, and invented the electrogeometer. The electrovegometer. Vegometer. Okay, good. A device aimed at collecting electricity atmospheric to distribute it in the ground. In the following century, the chemical industry, photosanitary products, and fertilizers gave more profitable and more constant results. The field of electroculture is neglected, but nevertheless active. Jules Francois Dupuis Delacourt perfected the vegometer. Okay. Before abandoning his research in the face of the lack of success encountered. The International Electricity Exhibition in 1881 revived public interest in the subject. Fernand Basti distinguished himself by creating a journal devoted to electroculture, in which he published the positive results of his experiments obtained using an electric generator. In 1899, the chemist Marcelin Berthelot studied the links between plant growth and electricity. Using electric generators, he demonstrated the fixation of atmospheric nitrogen by soil microbes. In 1912, the International Congress on Electroculture was organized in Reims. From 1918 to 1936, in England, the British Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries commissioned the Electroculture Committee to study the subject. In France, Jules Louis Breton and Lucien Plantifol studied electroculture within the Office of Inventions from 1918 to 1925 and obtained positive results with the transformer connected to the electrical network. Inventor Justin Christoffel, during the first half of the 20th century, also conducted several experiments in his own garden. So here's a photo from 1906 intended to demonstrate the influence of electricity on plant growth. A is without electric current, B is with electric current. And A is growing, but B is flourishing. So, renewed interest. Okay, geobiological approach. At the end of the 1980s, the concept found a renewed interest in Europe with followers of organic farming and permaculture, who nevertheless engaged in more or less of empirical practices. At the beginning of the 21st century, videos, books, conferences, or courses on the subject multiplied, in which the promoters of electroculture asserted that it had proven itself and had been abandoned under pressure from the chemical industry. They are based on theories, geobiologies, and have recourse to light devices, antennas, or magnets intended to act on the cosmotelluric electromagnetic fields of the universe, as in dowsing. I gotta look up cosmotelluric. It's a non-existent page apparently. Okay, universe. Well, what is the definition of the universe? The universe, in the cosmological sense, is a set of all that exists described in the scientific observations and governed by physical laws. Why does the universe in this depiction on the video version I got here look like somebody's eyeball? Yeah, that's what it looks like. Okay, now dowsing. Dowsing is a divinatory detection process based on the belief that living beings are sensitive to certain radiations emitted by different bodies. According to Abby Bewley, it would thus make it possible to locate sources, to find a lost object, or treasure a missing person, to establish a medical diagnosis. Okay, so we're going to keep going. Now, although there are positive results, in particular on germination, the current experimental results are not sufficient to conclude on a generalizable effect. The studies also do not make it possible to discern whether the observed effects are due to a possible alteration of the ambient electromagnetic field or to other properties of the devices tested. This justifies for some the opening of a serious and independent research program. In the absence of convincing experience, this practice is considered as a pseudoscience. The judgment is accentuated by the lack of scientific theoretical foundation, because the theories on which these practices are based are essentially made up of a succession of unproven hypotheses, which is understandable. So more research needs to be done. Now, the physical approach. China, for its part, has been experimenting for more than 30 years in greenhouses and announced in 2018 yields increased by 20 to 30%, with 70% to 100% less pesticides and 20% less fertilizer, thanks to a high voltage electrical device which can go up to 50,000 volts. A possible development of electrified farms would, however, remain a very marginal mode of cultivation due to the high cost of installation. Still, in China, experiments using devices creating an electric field at a lower cost to see a 20% increase in the yield of a greenhouse pea crop, even if this remains unexplained. In the absence of a rigorous double-blind scientific protocol, such experiments are, however, not conclusive. Reviews. According to an article by Sebastian Point, published in the Journal of Science et Pseudosciences, published by the French Association for Scientific Information, electroculture, when it does not use an artificial electrical source, is a pseudoscience and is not part of any plausible scientific mechanism. This is also the position of the National Horticultural Society of France. Okay. Well, in literature, the Helix Island, Jules Verne imagines a city, milliard city, surrounded by artificial countryside and vegetation based on electroculture. In The Death on Credit, Bartholomew works for a mad scientist who tries to profit from electroculture without success. That's pretty funny. And then after that is a couple of bibliographies for Jacques Dunchatel and Gabriel Ferron de la Selva. Attempts to use electricity as a biological activator in agriculture. Bulletin of the History of Electricity, Paris, Association for the History of Electricity in France, the 10th of December 1987, page 87 to 101. And that's about it. There's other related articles that focus on electrotherapy, magnetic fields, radiotrophic fungus. That's interesting. Justin Christoflo, biodynamic agriculture, and a lot of other things. But as for this goes, we're about done. Well, a lot of people, when it comes to electroculture farming, they say that their plants do grow a lot more. And I've seen some videos. There's some people over here saying that, like, this is November the 17th, 2022. Electroculture food production, why electricity helps plants. He seems to explain it more. There's just a lot of stuff going on. I've heard about this like a month ago, maybe. So it's pretty brand new to me. It's March the 26th of 2023 right now. And I heard about this not too long ago. So I thought I'd speak on it, talk about it, see if it was interesting or not. That is Weekly Reads for today, y'all. Weekly Reads for today. Thanks for stopping by. Peace out, y'all. Peace.